What the fuck is good, YouTube? I'm coming at y'all with my UFC 261 prediction straight off the dome. This card is pretty stacked, it's a pretty good card. Fans back in the arena, mad hype. Early prelims, got a few people who I'm not very familiar with, but that's fine. Hopefully they put on some bangers. Preliminary card, we got people like Tristan Connolly, who's come out here and beat Michel Pereira, because Michel Pereira gassed himself out acting crazy as hell. Gassed himself out, Tristan Connolly able to edge out a decision. We got Brendan Allen out here, came through and freaking submitted Kevin Holland, so he's pretty solid. But the first fight I'm gonna make a prediction on is the featured prelim, which is Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Randy Rude Boy Brown. Now, stylistically, I think this is a very interesting fight. I think Randy Brown has a clear grappling advantage over Alex Oliveira. Randy Brown's a really good wrestler, really good jiu-jitsu, so has really good jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I think in terms of grappling, he should have the edge. Striking is very interesting because Randy Brown's very long for the 170-pound division. And Alex Oliveira is also very long, has a very interesting striking style, which could pose problems for Randy Brown. I think if Randy Brown decides to strike with Alex Oliveira, it could go either way, honestly. And I think it would be a very good striking matchup, honestly. There's a lot of risk. Randy Brown does not have the best chin. He had that infamous TKO from the bottom by Nico Price, just freaking going crazy with those hammer fists off his back, knocked out Randy Brown. And also Vicente Luque got Randy Brown out of there as well. So Randy Brown does not have the best chin, but those are also extremely powerful dudes for the 70-pound division. And Alex Oliveira could definitely clip Randy Brown and get him out of there. So I think the grappling is really the way he should go. I think it's a smart way to go. And that's going to go towards my prediction. I do believe Randy Brown's going to win. I think he should be able to use that wrestling, implement his grappling, and get a second round submission. So yeah, that's my prediction. Randy Brown, second round submission. So now we're moving on to the main card, where we have Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Now this is a big matchup in the light heavyweight division. Anthony Smith, the number 6th ranked contender, against Jimmy Crute, the number 13th ranked contender. This is a huge matchup. Anthony Lionheart Smith is a very well-rounded fighter, has a BJJ black belt, has really good striking. He's not like the most technical dude or the most skilled dude, but he has like one of the best qualities one of the best qualities that you can't learn, which is heart. His heart's insane. He has grit. He has a very grind mentality. He's a dude who's gonna come out here. He's not gonna quit on himself ever. And Jimmy Crute, just like his nickname implies, he is a brute. He hits people hard and he gets people out of there quick. He's a savage. He's a really hard hitter. And he's going to give problems to Anthony Smith. I think Anthony Smith, just like in the previous fight, his best way to victory is by using his grappling, try to take Jimmy Crute down, find a submission. But I don't think it's going to be all that easy for Smith to get a takedown on Crute, as Crute is very strong for the division. He's very strong, especially in the first 2 rounds. He might start to gas later on. I personally haven't seen him in the later rounds, so I can't tell you, like later in that third, if he starts to gas. From what I've seen, he's just dominating people in the first, second round. But he did get submitted by Misha Serkinov. But I believe that was the Peruvian necktie, which was fucking crazy. But yeah, that's a interesting matchup. I think if Anthony Smith's able to implement his grappling, use his black belt in jiu-jitsu, and find a way to get a submission, that would be huge for him. But if this fight stays on the feet for extended periods of time, Jimmy Crute's going to tag Smith multiple times. So ultimately, the way I see this fight going is Smith's going to engage in the striking with Crute. It'll be pretty decently even. And then I think Crute will start landing some big shots. Smith will start to shoot, and Crute's really going to start laying down some bombs after he stuffs the takedowns. So my ultimate prediction is Jimmy Crute. I believe he's going to win by a second round KO/TKO. I think he's going to get Anthony Smith out of there. And it sucks too because I really do like Anthony Smith, but I just don't think he's going to be able to get it done. I think the young lion's going to come through and take that spot. So now let's go on to a middleweight matchup where the number 9 Uriah Hall takes on the number 11 Chris Weidman. Now this is a very interesting match as this is a rematch. These two men are probably not in the primes of their career anymore, although Uriah Hall has been performing decently well recently, while Chris Weidman, he's been kind of iffy. So, Uriah Hall coming off a knockout win of Anderson Silva, huge win. I was really rooting, I'm sure as most people were, for Anderson Silva. But, as DC loves to say, legends usually go out on their back. And unfortunately, Silva went out on his back in that fight. But yeah, Uriah Hall is a very, very good striker, very technical striker. He has very elite striking. He's very quick for the division. He has really good kicks. His takedown defense, which I think is going to play a big factor, is kind of questionable. And the thing is, Uriah Hall does like to use kind of like a wide stance, which could be problematic because Chris Weidman loves to go for that single leg takedown. So that could be a bit problematic if Hall used that wide stance. And the other thing is, Hall does tend to not perform as well on the back foot. And Weidman's definitely going to probably be looking to pressure, cut the cage off, and try to get these takedowns, whether it's using the single or using the clinch, try to close that distance. Because the last thing Weidman wants to do is be at range in kicking distance for Uriah Hall to land one of his devastating kicks, man. That's the last thing he wants. So I think Chris Weidman's going to be trying to close that distance and quick. The first time these two met, Chris Weidman did get the better of these two, but they are now in different stages of their career. Weidman's already been champ and kind of been in sort of a downward trajectory. He's still been fighting the elite of the elite, but he's been kind of in a downward trajectory. I know he won his last fight, but the trajectory of his career has not been in the upward trend. While Uriah Hall's he's one of the most inconsistent fighters probably ever. I mean, people love to talk about Michael Johnson being one of the most inconsistent fighters ever. I think Uriah Hall's right there as well. But I think Weidman, as long as he could avoid fighting at range for long periods of time against Uriah Hall, he won't get clipped and get knocked out. And that's the other thing I want to mention real quick. Chris Weidman's chin is not amazing. Neither is Uriah Hall's, but I don't think Weidman has that power to get Hall out of there, nor the technique to get Hall out of there using his feet. I mean, on the feet. Maybe ground and pound or a submission, but not striking on the feet. But yeah, I think Weidman's gonna take Uriah Hall down a lot and grind out a decision win. So yeah, I got Weidman by decision. So now we're moving on to the first of 3 title fights. The Women's Flyweight Championship is on the line when Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko takes on Jessica Batistaca Andrade. Now, Andrade has fought for multiple world titles and actually won a world title at strawweight, But now she's moved up to flyweight. She had a fight against Caitlin Chookagian, knocked her out with a body shot, which was very impressive. And now she's fighting the Bullet. Now, listen, Valentina, I wouldn't say she got exposed, but she showed that if someone can get her to the ground and hold her down, it could be problematic for her, because even though Jessica Maia was unable to take Valentina down, they had a scramble where Jessica Maia ended up on top, and Jessica Maia was able to hold her there for the rest of the round. So if Jessica Andrade is able to get Shevchenko to the ground using takedowns, whether it's a high crotch or double, she might be able to hold her down. Now, this is the biggest problem I have going into this fight. Andrade, she's so small compared to everyone she fights, but it's a little less exasperated at strawweight. It's bad at flyweight. Caitlin Chikagian had what, an 8-inch height advantage or something like that. I think Shevchenko's gonna have a 5-inch height advantage or something like that. And Valentina Shevchenko's a way better striker than Chikagian is. So I think Shevchenko's gonna really be able to keep Jessica Andrade at kicking range, at striking range, not letting her close the distance, get into clinches, get into wrestling exchanges. And so yeah, Jessica Andrade is best. She could rock Valentina bad and get her out of there, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Shevchenko is very, very technical, and I don't think she's gonna get rocked or knocked out by Andrade. It's always a possibility, but I don't think so. I think what's more of a possibility is Andrade, if she's able to close the distance, take down Shevchenko using her strength and holding her down. I think that's Andrade's best path to victory. And this is one of the few times where Shevchenko's actually going to fight a woman who's stronger than her. Just physically just stronger than her. You're not going to find many of those women at 25 who are physically just stronger than Shevchenko. And honestly, the last time she fought someone who was just physically stronger than her was probably Amanda Nunes. And that fight was super close. So this fight has the potential to be super, super close. Like I said, the problem for me that I think is really a hindrance for Andrade is how short she is and how much reach advantage she's giving up. I mean, Valentina is going to, I don't know the exact reaches, but I just think Valentina's going to be able to keep her at bay, keep her at kicking range, punching range, and just not allow Andrade to get close at all. She's going to try to keep that distance, use her very high-level kickboxing, and point out a decision against Andrade. So, yeah, my final prediction is Valentina Shevchenko by decision. So now we're going on to the co-main event of the evening, the women's strawweight division. Oh, before I go to this title fight, let me say real quick. Women are getting a really good feature on this card. 4 of the 7 best women in mixed martial arts today are fighting on this card. Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas, Valentina Shevchenko, and Jessica Andrade are 4 of the 7 best women's mixed martial artists on planet Earth right now. The only 3 who I'd argue, the 3 who I'd argue aren't here are Nunes, obviously, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and Chris Cyborg. But besides those 3, the top 7 women in this world, in the world at mixed martial arts are fighting on this card, which is such an amazing thing to see. These fights are going to be so high level and so fun to watch. So yeah, but now going on to the women's strawweight championship match. Weili Zhang defends her title against Rose Namajunas. Now, Weili had her first title defense against Joanna in Fight of the Year. I'm sure everybody knows this. And man, she looked really good. That fight could have gone either way. It went Zhang's way. It is what it is. Rose, in her last fight, it was a little interesting because she really started to gas in that third round. It seemed like she, not like gas bad, not like Greg Hardy gas, but she started to gas a little bit in that third round, and Andrade really started to put a beating on her bad. If it was Pride rules, Andrade probably would have won that fight because of how bad she put a beating on her in that third round. Now, Zhang did show that she slowed down in the mid-rounds against Joanna as well. In the third and fourth, if I remember correctly, Zhang started to slow down against Joanna. And Joanna really started to put it on Zhang, but then Zhang caught her second win. Nama Yunus, she showed that she was starting to slow down against Andrade as well. And if that was a 5-round fight, Andrade probably would have won that fight. So these two women have not shown. They've shown good cardio, but not like elite cardio. But I don't think it's really going to play a factor. I think both these women are going to show up in shape, ready to go 5 hard rounds. In terms of the grappling, I think Rose is overall a better grappler than Weili Zhang. But I think Weili Zhang is more than competent enough to hold her own on the ground. More than competent enough to hold herself on the ground. And I think the same thing goes with the striking, but reverse. I think Weili Zhang is a slightly better striker than Rose due to she has better power. She has more power than Rose, I believe. And I think she's probably a little more technical than Rose. Rose does tend to leave her chin up and on the center line. She has great footwork, but she does tend to leave her chin up and leave her head on the center line. So it's more of a defensive thing where her defense is not perfect. Her offensive striking is just so good, and when she's in that flow state, it's unmatched. Her striking is just a different level. But I think technically, Weili Zhang is just probably slightly better than Rose. But like I said, Rose is more than capable enough to hold her own in the striking. Where I think this fight is going to be determined is strength. We've seen Rose struggle against women with strength, specifically Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade, because of the height disadvantage and the reach disadvantage, was having struggles on Rose. But once she was able to close the distance and implicate that wrestling, she really she knocked her out with the dropping her on her head. And in the second fight, once Andrade was able to close the distance and land some bombs on her, man, it was looking kind of bad for Rose. She stung Rose really bad in that third round. And I think Weili Zhang's power and strength is going to give Rose some big time problems. I think ultimately that's what's going to end up costing Rose. I don't think either of them is going to get knocked out or submitted. I think they're both too good, too well-rounded to get finished by the other in any way. So I think Weili Zhang is going to edge out a decision win due to her more powerful strikes. Rose might put out more volume, but Weili Zhang, those power strikes, power strikes on the judges, in the rule book, is weighs more than volume. So I think Weili Zhang using that power, using her power, using her strength, possibly getting into clinch situations, she has good side kicks, good body kicks. Rose has nice leg kicks. I just think there's going to be an all-out war. Will it be as good as Joanna versus Weili? I hope so. But we'll wait and see. That's, as Uncle Chael likes to say, that's for them to figure out inside the octagon. But yeah, my final prediction, I think Weili is going to win by decision. So now we go on to the main event. Kamaru the Nigerian Nightmare Usman, the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC welterweight champion of the world and lineal BMF champion. I don't want to hear shit. He is the lineal BMF champion. When he beat Masvidal the first time, he became the lineal BMF champion, and he defended it against Burns and retained it. So yes, Kamaru Usman in my books is a double champ. He holds the lineal BMF championship and the UFC championship. And Jorge Masvidal, the dude who has the fake BMF championship, is the challenger. Now, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't see much difference in terms of how this fight plays out a second time. I think Jorge Masvidal will be better conditioned. I don't think he'll really gas out like he did against Kamaru the first time. After the first round, Jorge was breathing hard. And once the fifth round came, Usman was getting takedowns with relative ease. Masvidal was able to get up, but Usman was able to take him down with ease. He wasn't able to hold him down, but he was able to take him down with ease. Whereas in the first couple rounds, those takedowns were not so easy. So Usman's going to have a tough time keeping Jorge down, period. Because if Jorge is able to scramble with the way his cardio was on Fight Island, he'll definitely be able to scramble now. Because I'm assuming he's going to be way better conditioned. Usman always comes in with Hall of Fame cardio. That's just one of his attributes. Like, on 5 days' notice, he's going to come in probably with better cardio than his opponent. Or equal cardio as his opponent. So, cardio is never an issue with Kamaru. I think Masvidal, I think it's just the same fight. Masvidal has a puncher's chance. He has a legit chance to knock out Kamaru Usman. I think he's not really going to have anything for Usman in the clinch. He's not going to have anything for Usman in the wrestling. I think he's going to be able to scramble and get back to his feet. Jorge might even throw up a few submissions, as Jorge is a pretty good grappler. He's not the best, but he's a pretty solid grappler. But so he might try to have a more active guard, maybe try to throw up submissions instead of trying to scramble to his feet. But I think really this fight plays very similar to the first fight. The only thing that I can say is Usman has been talking about how the first fight, he didn't feel like he broke Masvidal. He wants to break Masvidal. It makes me think, is he going to try to come out here and knock out Masvidal or get a finish against Masvidal? Because that's not a good idea, because that would require him to take extended periods of time in the stand-up. And the more time you stay standing up, the more likely you are to get knocked out. That's just statistic facts. That's just statistical facts. The more time you spend doing something, the more likely an outcome is going to happen. So the more time Usman spends on the feet with Masvidal, the more likely it is for Masvidal to knock him out. Now, what I think personally is going to happen is Usman is going to come out with the more heavy striking approach early on. And I don't think necessarily Jorge is going to rock Usman or drop Usman. But I think Jorge is going to land something and Usman's going to feel it. He's going to be like, oh shit, why the fuck am I standing with this guy when I could just put him in the clinch, put him up against the fence, wrestle him. And I think that's what is probably going to happen. And it's going to early on start off being a striking match, kind of like it was in the first fight. Probably maybe more extended time, like maybe the whole of the first round's on the feet. But I think maybe like in the second round, Masvidal lands something that catches Usman's attention. It's like, bro, why am I standing with this guy? So I can get knocked out and lose my title, and then just goes back to his wrestling. But yeah, Masvidal, man, a puncher's chance is real, man. Especially with this guy, he could pull out some crazy shit. You never know with him. But it's tough. After seeing the fight on 6 days' notice, most people agreed there's not really much Jorge could do to where he could change the fight from being the same outcome. I believe this fight, the outcome of this fight changes based on if Usman's approach changes. If Usman decides to come out and, you know what, I'm going to be a striker today, he 100% could get knocked out, and I would 100% favor Masvidal. But when you put in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, clinch work, all that stuff together, it's hard to say this fight doesn't end up the same as it did the first time. So my final prediction is Kamaru Usman gets a decision win and retains the lineal BMF championship and the UFC championship. And yeah, this fight card is very, 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 very stacked. Very excited for the fights on here, and I hope you guys are excited as I am. I hope you guys enjoy this card because it should be a banger. Live fans, hearing the energy, it's gonna be crazy. And if some crazy shit goes down, some crazy knockout or anything like that, at any point in the night, man, it's gonna feel so good to have the fans back. I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of like the rawness of fighting with no fans. So if I was the UFC, as for right now, I just keep the fight nights at the Apex, because the Apex is doing really good. Just keep the fight nights at the Apex and have the pay-per-views in front of live crowds. Because I think people do appreciate the rawness of fighting in front of live crowds. So, but if I was the UFC, that's what I'd do. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I want to see TJ versus Corey with no crowd. I want to see that fight with no crowd so bad. Because seeing Corey knock out Frankie, bro, I would love to see him knocking out TJ with no crowd. Would be awesome. Him knocking out TJ with the crowd would be crazy. But listen, I'm getting off track. That's like 2 weeks away. We're worried about this fight coming up Saturday, April 24th, UFC 261. This fight's going to be crazy. This card is going to be crazy. If you guys enjoyed, please, I don't care if you like the video, subscribe, none of that stuff. I really want to interact with the community where you guys comment down below, tell me what you think. I'm going to reply to you as soon as I can. I just really want an interactive community where we could talk, MMA. So thank you for watching, and I'm gone.